My name is James Edwin McKenney. I went in the service in April 1943 and was discharged after the war was over in December of '45. And I was in the Army Air Corps. I was at home then. I was just finished school in '41 and I'd started farming. My daddy was going to get a tractor. In fact, he already had prices for it, but he was afraid the war was going to get me. And he taught me, he said, if I buy it, it'd be sitting here, nobody would drive it. So he bought another mule, and I was working 2 mules when they drafted me. There was a sergeant there, master sergeant, and they was finding what, or had a record of what everybody was doing in civilian life. He was taking all the men off of farms that lived on a farm. So after they got us all together, he said, I know you boys are probably wondering why you're not in the infantry. Said, we found out boys off the farm, they got more mechanical ability. I went to Miami Beach for basic training. Was only there for about 4 or 5 weeks. And I went to East St. Louis, Illinois, to Parks Air College. Went through a certain length of time up at school. Then I went to Mobile, Alabama, worked in the engine overhaul for 2 or 3 weeks. Later shipped to El Paso, Texas for 2 weeks, and then I went to Camp Kilmer, New Jersey, to go overseas in February. We loaded the ship, went over on the Queen Elizabeth, and I was sent to a sub-depot on a B-24 field. And we did the major parts of work that the crews on the field couldn't handle. We had quite a few nose wheels would collapse, and they'd bring them to the hangar. We'd have to take it all out, and the sheet metal men would rework, and then we put the other back in for them so they'd go back to flying. We changed a lot of fuel tanks also, besides for the nose wheel. So you might be working your whole shift, and when I first, right after I got over there, we were working 2 12-hour shifts. And then if you're working the night shift, when that air raid sound come on, whoever was the closest man to the main switch in that hangar he went and pulled it. And then he was supposed to all had a flashlight. But sometimes he's in your way up in a wing of a plane changing fuel tanks. Then he had to make sure if we was up in there that we got out all right. Most time we'd go outside and watch the anti-aircraft, see them shooting at planes. One night up there, it sounded like they was getting closer to us. So we didn't go in the bomb shelter. We went out by this ditch. And all at once, well, you could see enough, we was all lined up down that ditch. And all at once we heard a bomb start whistling. It was just like you knocked trigger over. All of us hit that ditch. We knew how it was. It's down pretty deep. And then it had an airspace that went down deeper. So I think most of us just caught and straddled that deep part. But we're still below ground there. And when we had a B-24 that blew a tire taking off. He didn't have enough speed to get off the ground. He went out off the runway out in the field. I guess he was half a mile to 3/4 from us. They caught fire. They didn't know anything about the crew or anything, it caught fire. They did tell us up there, said when it gets hot enough, the bombs are going to go off. I think it had 1,000-pound bombs in it. So we was from a half a mile to 3/4 of a mile from it. But we was hearing 50 caliber bullets just whistling through the air, which way. And of course they told us that when it got hot enough, it's going to explode. I had went down to another building for some reason, out of the hangar. And it went off when I was in that building. It was so much that I went to my knees in that building, the concussion. It blew the hangar doors out of track. One man got killed. When they crashed, he was on the catwalk, and he broke his handhold loose, and he hit his head hit something in the plane and killed him. They got him out. They were just a little short distance in a ditch, laying in a ditch out there in the field. The rest of the crew was all right. When it finally blowed that bomb up, and it's over. And they'd give you one little bucket of Coke, they called it, at night, which wouldn't hurt. It just taking the chill off of that hut. We found out them fuel tanks, cut them up. They'd make a hot fire. You get warm in there at night. And then they come up and said, no, we got to send them back. They're going to rework them. So we'd saved the tractor trailer load up, change. Some of them asked the boys when they carried them, he's supposed to carry them somewhere. And they said, what'd you do? Where'd you carry those things? They had me take them out to dump them. We ain't gonna get cold no more. We cut them up, burn them. We could get 3 in the hangar at a time. Now, one time we had another one we couldn't get in, and it was going to be too long sitting. And it was in the coldest part of winter. We had to go out there and take the plugs out of it, spark plug. We wore fleece-lined suits in the winter over there. But you had to have your hands free to work. So they sent me and another boy out there to take the plugs out. We carried a gasoline engine out there that had a pretty long muffler on it. We get up there, we get one plug out. Come down, we'd hold that muffler with your hands while the other one went up there and taken out a plug. So that's how we got them plugs out, one at a time. While I was there, we had a B-17 that come in the base because he had problems. Still had his bombs on there. And he run off the runway out in the field. They wanted to save the plane, the engineering officer did. So we was trying to jack it up. I was underneath the plane, and all at once I saw the ground give under the pallet that I had the jack on. And I knew it was going to shift. I jumped to try to get out from under between number 1 and 2 engines, but it hit me on the back, knocked me face down. Then the sergeant fell on me, held me, and hollered for somebody to go get an ambulance. So I wound up going to the hospital and found out it hit me at the lower part of my back and fractured my pelvic bone. And I laid flat on my back in the hospital for 6 weeks before I could get up. And I went back to my base, and then after the war was over, they shipped part of us to Casablanca, North Africa, to service the planes that was flying the boys back from Italy with. They sent, I don't know, there wasn't many of us they sent down there. Don't remember how many. But then I was there, and we was already getting most of them flown back. And they sent some of the older boys that had been in longer back home to get ready to go to the Pacific. And they also told me I would be going back for 30 days and then to the Pacific. We'd eat pretty good over there, except they fed us more pork chops than anything else. They got where somebody'd go to mess hall at dinner time, and they come back, what did they got today? They said, something new. We didn't even go, because we knew it was pork chops. So I'd been made crew chief down there as a sergeant. So went out one night, had this one plane. North Africa, we had to take them to the backside of the field to pre-flight them. So we'd carried the plane out there, and he told me he didn't know of another one I had to do, but I couldn't go back to the barracks. So while we was there, we was listening to the radio. Meantime, they had dropped the atomic bombs. And we was here listening on shortwave radio, and they was talking about what to do when they announced the war was over. We didn't know it. They come on about 2 days later and told us the war was over. But it was over then, but they had to get the emperor on the ship and sign the papers before they could announce it. So then they put me on a ship back to America. When we left over there on the 11th day of November, finally got to the States. We was on a little Liberty ship freighter that had brought wheat or corn over there. So when we got back, nobody wanted us. They didn't have no room for us. So they sent us to Memphis on the troop train. We got there, they just said, well, you ain't supposed to be here. You ain't. The sergeant in charge said, well, here's our orders. Here we're stuck in Memphis. We ain't got no place for you. So the next day, or the second day, they called us out, said, we're going to give you a 3-day pass while we're cutting the papers, and then we're going to send you to Montgomery Maxwell Air Force Base and discharge you, which made us happy. Well, my mother and daddy was glad to see me. But I came in, I got my discharge late in the afternoon. But we had time to get to the train station. I caught a train late that afternoon to Atlanta. And I come into Atlanta the next morning and came home. I guess when I found out the war was over and we was going home, we figured that was because they was making plans to invade Japan. And that's what we'd have went right home and then over there somewhere and doing the same thing somewhere else over there. They knew they was going to lose millions of people if they if they invaded. If they went in to invade Japan, they was going to lose more Japanese and Americans. So they figured they dropped the atomic bomb. They was hoping they won, it'd surrender. but it took two of them. If they hadn't then, he probably would be expecting the third one to hit Tokyo. On the boats, especially coming back home. The Queen Elizabeth we went over on. We went through the North Atlantic storm. They tied up ropes like this for you to hold to the wall, because if that ship was going down. We went to the mess hall one day to eat, try to eat. KP brought out, he was holding the pan with one hand, the rope with the other. The ship was kind of still for a second or two, wasn't moving too bad. He set that pan of food down, and just at that ship went up like that on the side. Well, we was trying to stay on the bench, trying to hold what you had, but nobody could catch that pan of food that he brought out. It hit the wall and just all over the wall. And then when we got over there, after we went through the North Atlantic storm, he came on speaker on the boat. He's the captain of the ship there. Said, "Boys, you don't know how lucky we are. This ship listed farther than the law of gravity said it'd straighten back up. Said we're supposed to be laying on the side out there." Of course, we didn't know that till after he told us. When we had done out through the storm, man, it was smooth sailing. Well, they did fly us over after the war was over, and the bombers, some of them. They'd fly us over some of the places, and you could see the destruction of where the bombs had tore big buildings up, where there wasn't hardly nothing left of them. So, I mean, it was, I don't know, it's like a tornado been through and just cleaned it. Yeah. I couldn't do it now, but they showed how back then how to break a man's neck. Or somebody back then would come up behind me and grab you around. Back then I'd have his feet off the ground before he realized it. They went over there to win. It wasn't a play. Because what a little bit they talked to us about hand to hand. You fight dirty. Go ahead and kill him and be through with it. Well, when I come back, I changed I didn't go back to farming. I got a job in the public, went to work. If I would have thought about it after it's too late, I could have went to one of the airlines very easily and got a job. Well, I don't know, you got to see how some of the other world lives. And makes you think how fortunate you are here. It shows some appreciation for what we've done. There's enough people that believe it to make you know. The younger people don't think nothing about it, but the ones in the Vietnam and them, you know, they know. I've got the tag on my car is a World War II tag. And I'd went to a place to eat, went in and you ordered and then they'll bring it to you. And I was given orders to get my money out. This man walked up, he said, "I'll take care of that. Isn't that your car with that tag on it out there?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'll pay for this." I was too young to go in World War II and too old for the others. But I appreciate what you done.